mile beneath the surface of the Gulf. After a day-long delay, BP is getting ready to test the new well cap.
I was gung-ho for this test, and I remain gung-ho for this test.
Also tonight, government health experts recommend keeping the popular diabetes drug Avandia on the market, despite continuing safety concerns. And the NAACP accuses the Tea Party movement of tolerating bigotry.
This is the CBS Evening News with Couric reporting tonight from the Gulf Coast.
Good evening, everyone. We're in New Orleans tonight, just back from the Gulf of Mexico, where BP is about to take a big step in trying to get control of the oil leak. It will test the new containment cap it installed on the wellhead to see if it can handle the pressure of the oil pushing into it. That test had been delayed today out of what the government called an abundance of caution. The concern was that putting more pressure on the already damaged wellbore could do more harm than good and could even create more leaks. But late today, BP got the go-ahead for the test to begin. Meanwhile, the siphoning operation continues above the well, and we went out there today for a first-hand look. I headed out to the disaster site with the government's point man, Admiral Thad Allen, and Interior Secretary Ken Salazar. We landed on the Helix Producer. Unlike a rig, it's not moored to anything on the ocean floor. It's a ship, and a GPS keeps it in place. It's a dramatic sight. Oil is pumped in through a riser. Then after it is separated, the natural gas is burned off. Ever since the HP1, which is called a floating production unit, arrived here on June 19th, it's been ramping up its capacity to collect oil. Its target is to be able to collect some 30,000 barrels or 1.26 million gallons of oil every single day, and then pipe it into that tanker right nearby. The Helix Producer will get an assist from 3 other vessels. Ultimately, 4 vessels will be charged with really siphoning up the total amount of gas or oil that's coming up.
And we believe that will give us 60,000 to 80,000 barrels a day, which is above our current flow rate estimate.
So that will at least stop it, right?
It will contain all the oil.
But then, obviously, the relief wells will actually stop it for good.
Stop it for good, exactly right.
This is really Plan B. Ideally, the latest device, the so-called capping stack, a massive piece of equipment weighing 75 tons, will stop the flow completely. But testing was delayed because scientists were worried about putting too much pressure on the drill pipe and well bore below the seafloor.
We've now seeded the capping stack.
But after a day of intense review and debate, the test was green-lighted late this afternoon.
And at this time, we'll be releasing an order to BP to proceed with the well integrity test.
Engineers will first close off the valves on the capping stack, which should trap the leak inside. With all 3 valves closed, they can measure the well's pressure. A high-pressure reading of 8,000 pounds per square inch means the well is in good shape, but a low reading means oil is still coming out somewhere below.
We get to a point where we're around 4,000 or 5,000 psi and it does not rise. That's like a garden hose where not as much water is coming off, so where is it going? And that might be an indication that the oil is going someplace else. So we won't know until we actually close the system and start bringing the pressure up what that will tell us. 8,000 on the Q4000.
Meanwhile, a symbol of both man's engineering ingenuity and corporate hubris, this industrial city on the water is a massive show of force, waiting for its next mission.
I don't think there's ever been an aggregation of drilling vessels, production vessels, and vessels supporting remotely operated vehicles, probably, at least in the history of the Western Hemisphere, maybe the world. I think we're really going to have to think about the systems that support offshore production and how we're going to respond to one of these in the future.
Capping the well and containing the spill are a temporary fix. The permanent solution will be when those relief wells are completed in mid-August and the leak can be plugged with drilling mud and concrete. Meanwhile, the Gulf Coast is fighting a public relations battle. Mark Strassman is in Grand Isle, Louisiana tonight. And Mark, there are some misconceptions about conditions down there.
Costly misperceptions, Katie. So for Gulf Coast residents, hearing that the well's testing is finally on the way is good news, because every delay and setback is the last thing this region's image needs.
After 11 weeks of BP's disaster, this may come as a surprise. Mitch Jurasich still dredges perfect oysters, because Louisiana does have some oil-free waters. That's a beautiful oyster. But in New Jersey, Cheryl Stavola is afraid to order it.
And I think as time passes, I'm going to be even more afraid of it.
And the seafood restaurant has redone its menu.
I don't buy Gulf products. I don't buy Gulf shrimp. I just don't do it.
This leak's growing stain has become the Gulf stigma. The reality, BP's massive spill has blackened a fraction of the Gulf coastline. The perception? From Louisiana to Florida, hotels up to 20 miles inland report a 40% cancellation rate. This spill has smeared the Gulf brand, including coastal communities without a drop of oil. The challenge now, convincing the rest of America that in most places here, the coast is clear. Gulf tourism is fighting back. In ads,
there are plenty of places in Florida where you can enjoy crystal clear waters.
And personal appeals from VIPs.
It's pristine, and everybody should come here.
But marketing experts say this image has become the Gulf's billboard.
I don't believe anything can be done from a public relations or tourism standpoint until that well is capped.
But even once BP's crisis is over, Mitch Jurasich's anxiety could go on.
It's going to be very tough to get people's confidence back in our product.
No matter how good that product may be.
No matter how good that product is.
Even for Gulf Coast residents, that perception battle will take some time. Mitch Jurasich told me, for instance, right now he wouldn't want a vacation on Florida's beaches either. Katie?
Mark Strassman in Grand Isle tonight. Mark, thank you very much. Now, as the oil continues to spread through the Gulf, the damage grows by the day. At least 110,000 claims have been filed with BP so far, and $183 million paid out. But as Kelly Kobiea tells us, tens of thousands of people are still waiting, running out of patience and money.
12 weeks into the oil spill, Karen Hopkins is desperate.
For the first time in my life, I applied for food stamps.
In better days, Hopkins made $4,000 a month working for Blanchard Seafood in Grand Isle, Louisiana. But because of the fishing ban, work here has come to a halt. BP paid her $2,500 for lost wages last month and another $730 for rental assistance. Tuesday morning, she was told the rental help is going away.
He said things are changing, and we can't do that anymore.
All of the employees at Blanchard Seafood live in company housing like this. It's part of their salary, but because it doesn't show up in income tax returns, under new BP rules, it's not factored into compensation.
They've taken away every ounce of security that I've had.
42,000 claims are on hold or being adjusted downward because of what BP calls insufficient paperwork. Another 13,000 are stalled because of bad contact information.
We intend on getting the money out, but we've got to continue to look for ways to do it faster, and we will.
Yet even people who keep meticulous records are battling BP. Dean Blanchard owns Blanchard Seafood. He's lost over $1 million in net profit already. BP has paid him a fraction of that, $165,000. It's not nearly enough.
I don't know anybody in my business that has lost something that believes that BP made an attempt to make them whole.
In about 3 weeks, Kenneth Feinberg will be the ultimate authority on claims instead of BP, and people like Karen will have a decision to make: take a settlement or sue.
I feel like a criminal that's being sentenced for a crime I didn't commit. It's scary.
With her job, her home, and her future on the line, like thousands of others here, this may be just the beginning of Karen's nightmare. Kelly Kobiea, CBS News, Grand Isle, Louisiana.
Here in New Orleans, another story is making headlines. 3 police officers pleaded not guilty today to federal civil rights charges.